Hello and welcome to Rob Carson's What in the World? And now I realize why I actually created that name. Because seriously, what in the world? Welcome to the show. This is the 25th of March, 2020. Joining me to start the show is my friend, nationally syndicated talk show host, broadcast Hall of Famer, Jim Bohannon. How are you, my friend?
I am very good, Rob, and I must tell you, everyone, of course, just to lead off here, Nancy Pelosi, of course, still wants all kinds of unnecessary extras in that stimulus package, and tomorrow is her 80th birthday. So, if you're all ready? Yeah. We have to relieve this bill of liberal pet peeves. Hate to imperil your pork barrel, but happy birthday as you grieve.
Nice. Now, blow out the candles if you have the breath to do it, Nancy Pelosi.
She's getting a special ventilator just for that.
You know what? I was watching her speak yesterday, and I wonder if she literally has to, between breaths, spray some sort of moisturizer into her mouth, because it's like she's very dry. It's just very dry.
Yes, as a matter of fact, well, she tested positive for idiocy. So
yes,
and you know, all kinds of problems.
Now, I want to tell you, there's a real positive today, Jim. I don't know if you knew this. Hillary Clinton tested positive, or negative, I should say, for being president.
Oh,
so thank God for that.
Good to hear.
So let me ask you, Jim, how are you weathering the storm? And I would like your thoughts. It's hard to actually put things into context and distill them into a thought. But what are your thoughts so far on this pandemic?
Well, we're hunkering in the bunker like everybody else, and still hoping that we can become very rich. We're working on a way to to make hand sanitizer out of crude oil, and I'll let you know if that works out. But we're doing okay, and I have been enjoying, by the way, some of the truly interesting stories that are making the news out there. Of course, you've got 3 different distilleries now that are making hand sanitizer, and there is a strip club in Portland, Oregon called the Lucky Devil.
Yes.
And the dancers are delivering meals to people. Yes. It's called Boober Eats. I cannot make that name up. And I was wondering if next they'll be giving out fist bump dances. I don't know. But
yes. Well, the thing is, they won't be doing dollar bills anymore. It's going to be some
Probably
sort of
not. No, it'll definitely be credit only. Exactly. They have a little slide plate there.
Swipe the card, but be careful when you swipe it, though, Jim.
Yes, careful when you swipe it. That's right.
Careful, it's not reading. It's not reading. What's the problem here? No, I did see that story, and I'm sure it's because their chicken wings are fantastic. It's like Hooters. Their chicken wings are fantastic, right?
Exactly. That's why I always go. But no, we're trying to find the lightheartedness in it all. We're staying in touch with our friends and our even our neighbors. I mean, I wave at our neighbors, but we email, we telephone, and that's. I don't want to call it a new normal. It's not normal.
No,
it's not. I don't think it's going to be around long enough to be a new normal. But for the moment, it'll do.
But let me ask you this, Jim. You're a nationally syndicated talk show host, and hopefully I will be as well eventually. But let me ask you this. I mean, when you react to something like this, when you confront this sort of things on the air, obviously you're going to go through some machinations. It's going to start with because you've got to lead your listeners. You've got to entertain and inform your listeners, and also be the voice of reason. But how have you changed with regard to the beginning of this pandemic versus where you are now? What have you gone through with your listeners? Has there ever been a moment of, dear God, we've never seen anything like this before? I mean, I'd like to know.
Well, we have not seen a great deal of that. Mostly, I think I've got a pretty level-headed audience, and they have, for the most part, adjusted. They've adapted. We've talked about various things that you need to do to cope. We've even had not only shows on the spread of the virus and what to do and wash your hands and all the rest of that. We have also done shows on how do you cope with the parents home working from home and the kids home from school, and you can't spend all day doing PlayStations at opposite ends of the house.
Yeah,
we've talked about that kind of thing. I think tonight we'll probably lead a march down Interstate 95, which we're all going to run and shout, "We're all going to die," just to lighten things up a bit.
Well, I went out today and I did a video. I did a live video podcast from my car, and I went to actually did two videos. One was from a favorite cigar shop, and I don't smoke a lot of cigars, just every once in a while. And they're open for business. They were deemed essential. Yay! And I thought that was pretty cool that a cigar shop would be deemed essential, because I think a lot of this has to do with your mental well-being. Liquor stores generally are determined to be essential because, honestly, my wife without Chardonnay in the evening, dear God in heaven, I can't even imagine. But
You've heard about the marijuana stores, right?
Yes.
12 states, marijuana stores are allowed to be open as essential, but I digress. Go ahead.
Exactly. But I also did a video on the way home when I noticed all of the people who were, out walking their children in dear God in heaven, Jim. There were new moms running their children in baby strollers. They don't even realize they're dead already, Jim. I mean, how could we possibly allow this, Jim? Seriously.
Well, you can certainly get carried away. You can certainly go overboard, and obviously there are some people who do not know the meaning of a proportional response to anything. It's either business as usual or we're all going to die, we're all going to die. And yes, there are, in fact, things you can do. There are common sense ways to approach this. And that's, I suppose, if there's a central theme to what I've tried to present on my shows during the pandemic, it has been that you don't have to go crazy. No, things aren't wonderful. Don't go frolicking on the beach like some 20-something idiot, and then don't go assuming that we're all going to die next week. You just right down the middle, take it easy, calm, cool, collected. That's been my central theme.
To me, though, Jim, and you may not want to tread on this, but I do believe there is something askew here. I do believe there is something about this pandemic that, if you look at the numbers who have been afflicted, if you look at the those who have been hospitalized or killed by it, there is something askew. I don't know what it is, Jim. I don't know why people reacted this way to it. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm not an Alex Jones follower. But from the get-go, when I approach this, I'm like, why are we so freaked out about this, Jim? I'm looking at you as the oracle, Jim. I need all the answers from you. but what is it? There's something askew about this, man.
I'm not a genius. I play one on the radio. But
yes.
Really. All right. This virus expands exponentially, and the period of time between contracting the virus and showing symptoms is many days.
Yeah.
And so if you don't separate people, you don't know which ones to separate. I mean, if everybody who got the virus didn't show symptoms for a week and a half, but their face suddenly lit up neon green, we could say, okay, neon green faces over there, and don't get anywhere near us. They don't do that. We don't know.
Yeah.
And so we have to go everybody. And if you stop and think about the process, for example, of logarithmic increases here, I mean, let's assume that the virus doubles every day. Okay? So first day you got one person with the virus, and let's say everybody's packed together. Second day 2 people, third day 4 people, the fourth day 8 people, the fifth day 16 people, and so on. And you reach the point where you're into the thousands in a very short period of time. And that is the main problem here. The fact that you can go so long spreading it without anybody knowing you've got it.
Yeah.
Plus, it's something against we have no immunity. Most other viruses, in fact, we have residual immunity. So during the Spanish flu, forgive me, Spanish people, of a century ago, during that flu, older people didn't get it as much, and we now suspect it may have been because a similar flu may have hit, say, in the 1880s or something, but a few decades earlier, and there was some residual immunity. Now there is discussion of taking the blood, not certainly against their will, and not to kill them, but taking the blood.
It's not China, for crying out loud.
Exactly, we're not China. Taking blood from people who have recovered,
yes,
and seeing if you can impart any immunities to other people. Now, this is going to be tried on a clinical trial basis, but it's very possible. because, of course, this will never have this impact again, even if it comes back every year. The fact is that people will develop immunity. We always develop immunity to viruses.
Well, let me ask you personally, though. I mean,
Yeah.
And you can't give everything out on your life on the radio, but I mean, how has this impacted you? Have you found yourself being very concerned? I work outside of my home to make a living, and I come in contact with a lot of people. And the other day, I met someone who I had close contact with, and I said, "How are you?" And he says, "Well, hey man, I've been very focused. I'm in the hospital." My immediate response was, "Dear God, have you been tested?" And he didn't respond. I'm like, "What's going on?" I wrote him back. I said, "Listen, have you been tested? Because I work with you and a lot of other people." He goes, "No, Rob, I've got a back problem, and I'm finally in for some elective surgery."
Yeah, that is the first thing you think of. I agree. In terms of impacting me, not really. One thing I suppose that's helpful is that, to my knowledge, I don't know a single human being who's tested positive.
Yeah.
I read about people.
Yeah.
I read about Rand Paul and 2 members of Congress, and I read about Prince Charles, and by the way, I'm not sure exactly what he is doing under voluntary quarantine in a Scottish castle, maybe virtual jousting. I don't know what you do, but I read. But see, I don't know anybody. I think it's going to hit home. I'll tell you the first thing that hit me on this virus.
Yes, sir.
It was all strictly at arm's length. I'm reading about it. I'm hearing about it. When they canceled March Madness was the first time I said, I believe this is real. Now the next time that this hits me is going to be somebody I know has the virus. To this point, no one I know that I know of has gotten the virus. But there are levels of reality. And March Madness was one, and knowing somebody is another.
I'm sorry, what were you talking about, knowing somebody who has it there?
I said, I don't know anybody yet. That'll be another level of reality.
I know, I'm just playing.
Josh, Mary, they have got this virus. So this is no longer just 50,000 people who've got it. This is somebody I know.
But honestly, and we all know, and none of us want to tempt fate. Certainly I do not. But I just feel like from the get-go I had a feeling about this that it was overplayed. And I don't know what the cause of it was, Jim. If you look at the numbers with regard to infections worldwide, deaths worldwide, versus the N1H1. I will tell you, Jim, I lived in Washington, D.C., and I got N1H1 in 2010, and I had bubbles in my lungs, and I was like, what the hell is going on? We didn't close down all the grocery stores, and I could buy bathroom tissue. So I guess I don't know what's caused this. There's something askew. There is something askew, Jim.
Part of the problem, I suppose, is the fact that it takes so long for people who it can infect other people to be discovered with the virus. I think that's part of it. Part of it, I think that anything we do now is an overreaction personally just because of social media. And that's just a fact of life with which we must live. In terms of somebody with a vested interest, that is, say, an ulterior motive, as soon as I can think of one, but I can't think of one.
Well, I'm not saying, I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist. I'm just saying there's something that caused this to happen that is it does not make sense to me.
Well, I don't know that anything caused it to happen. Let's say, for example, that in fact, the fact that it occurred just down the road from China's biological weapons center.
Yes.
And, of course, let's not forget, China's a big place. China square area is the size of the continental United States minus Alaska.
Yeah.
It's a big place. And for this to break out just down the road from the biological weapons center is certainly a coincidence of the high order. But, I mean, this would be the most major foul-up ever if the Chinese managed to cripple their economy of tens of billions, maybe hundreds of billions of dollars, because it leaked there. I mean, if it had only appeared elsewhere, then I could say, well, okay, there's an ulterior motive there. But I can't find one. I don't see anybody who's profiting by this.
Yeah.
I just don't see it. If you point out somebody who's benefiting, then I would say, aha. Other than maybe people who make ventilators.
I'm not saying that it's about profiting. There's something that caused the panic, though. And I'm going to tell you something.
Social media.
Well, okay.
And frankly, I hate to say this, but programs like yours and mine.
You bastard! Why did you say that?
I know, but seriously, I mean, we these days any notion at all spreads like wildfire. It has occurred to me that I could go on the radio tonight, and I could make up the most wildest, outlandish thing.
Yeah.
Nancy Pelosi in a garter belt and Donald Trump in a sequin jockstrap were caught in the middle of Pennsylvania Avenue last night. I mean,
Wait.
Most people wouldn't believe it, but see, you can spread stuff like that. I go on Twitter, I spread the same story. Now, this sort of thing can spread.
Yeah,
that's all I'm saying. Social media makes almost anything possibly viral, pun intended.
And by the way, thank you for exposing my my home video collection. I really appreciate it. Let me ask you this, Jim. Let me ask you this. What about this spending bill? I am so frustrated, my friend. I saw this happen after 9/11. I saw this happen with the Obamacare the Obama stimulus package, and this is stimulus on steroids. It is remarkably not surprising to me. And every time that I think the Democrat Party can't sink lower, it does. Ultimately,
I don't understand them. I mean, quite frankly, this is so self-defeating. I mean, I understand what's going on here, that Nancy has real constituents in San Francisco, actual voters who would like her very much to help out their local business because the job where they work may disappear. But to see, the thing of it is, the people with these pet peeves, the people who care about funding for public broadcasting, who care about another $35 million for the Kennedy Center, the people who care whether or not airlines must reduce their carbon footprint before they get any stimulus money, those are the people who give money. And Nancy is now facing a California primary in which she has not only opponents, but people who are challenging her from the left, if you can imagine that.
Yeah.
That is to say, people who are saying with a straight face, Nancy's okay, but she's just a little too conservative.
Oh, dear Lord.
She is looking to pick money from those people, and she doesn't expect any of this stuff to survive. She wants to be able to go back to them and say, well, I tried.
I suppose.
Therefore, let me be reelected.
Now, Jim, let me ask you, as far as Joe Biden, I'm going to be sharing after you're off the air with me some pieces of video from Joe Biden. Clearly, to me, and I think I'm stating the obvious, this gentleman is in a rapid mental decline. And I don't say this, and people said this about Donald Trump, and they wanted to weaponize the 25th Amendment. I truly believe that the 25th Amendment, that Joe Biden would be, if he got to be president, which I don't think will happen, would be the first president removed by the 25th Amendment. I think at this point, it honestly is beyond covering something up and moving into cruelty. He clearly is not there. Your thoughts?
Well, first of all, the comparison with Donald Trump. Donald Trump has a very loose tongue and absolutely no rhetorical discipline. Trump blurts, and he ought to shut the hell up and cut it out. It doesn't do him any good. You can if you followed him over the time he's been a candidate and the president, that's what he does. Okay, it's a lame thing to do, but that doesn't show anything short of just being somebody who blurts before they think.
Thank you.
But in the case of Joe Biden, some of the things that he's done and said and missaid, you do really have to wonder. I mean, certainly, goodness knows his staff is aware of it, and you have to think that they have counseled him. You know, look, Mr. Vice President, we've got to maybe we should limit your schedule. Maybe fewer public utterances. Maybe we should keep the little daily shadow briefings on the virus to a minimum. This sort of thing. They're aware of it. But again, he's what they've got. He's there, and they're going to carry him as far as he can go, and that is not only to the Democratic nomination, which he is going to get. But let's not forget that there are tens of millions of people in this country who would vote for anybody over Donald Trump, who hate Donald Trump. Donald Trump is racist, that phobic. I mean, any Democratic nominee, I don't care who it is, any Democratic nominee is going to be competitive. Now, I think that Donald Trump would win today. I do. If this economy were to stay in the dumper, that's a question mark. But don't anybody. I keep hearing Republicans say, "Oh, well, we're going to kill Biden." Don't you be so sure of it. You make sure that you're registered to vote, and your wife and your friends and Aunt Millie, and that if they don't vote absentee or by mail or whatever, you make sure they get to the polls. Anybody who thinks this is going to be a cakewalk, I think, is a fool.
Do you think that with regard to Bernie Sanders, the Bernie Sanders supporters, that they will revolt, they will stay at home. I mean, there are passionate Bernie Sanders supporters, and I do believe that after the 2016, there were some people who were kind of willing to let the fact that he really didn't put up a fight after Hillary Clinton had kind of clinched things. Do you suppose they're going to put up with that again? I mean, I've heard Bernie Sanders supporters, you saw the videos, saying that Milwaukee was going to burn. Do you think people are going to, Bernie Sanders supporters are going to go quietly into the night, Jim?
Well, first of all, I think that he will ask them to. And secondly, I'm not at all sure what that they will do. My guess is that many will not go quietly into the night, that they will not say, well, half a loaf is better than none, Joe's better than Donald. I think a lot of them will not do that. Some of them may, in fact, cause street violence. Some of them are preconditioned to do just that. Some of them may just go home into their parents' basement and sulk and not vote for anybody. It would not surprise me at all. And certainly if Bernie offered the slightest encouragement, this would happen. It wouldn't surprise me at all if the Green Party nominee suddenly got 5 or 6% of the vote. And if the Green Party nominee did get 5 or 6% of the vote, Donald Trump would be pushing 500 electoral votes. It would be, then you would have a landslide. And let's something else. Honestly, it has occurred to me that Bernie knows this is his last hurrah.
Yeah,
Bernie
clearly.
this is it. And it has occurred to me that he might call up the Green Party and say, look, I can make us a factor. You give me that nomination come July. They meet in Detroit, unless that's been postponed. You give me that nomination, and he could be a third-party candidate on a par, certainly with John Anderson. I'm not sure he'd ever be up there as big as Ross Perot or George Wallace. But anyway, I think it's going to be a real difficult time for Joe Biden to get the Bernie backers to stick with him. A lot of them won't vote. A lot of them will vote green.
You've been on the planet for a few years more than me. Have you ever lived through times like these? I mean, did you get this feeling before? I mean, you're a Vietnam veteran. Obviously there are some things going on in the world then that I can't comprehend. But is any of this kind of new to you? Kind of like, what the real are we entering new territory here?
Well, in terms of the virus, nothing like the virus. In terms of the politics, yeah, the 60s, absolutely. I mean, there were riots in Chicago at the Democratic Convention in 1968. I remember driving through American University in the nation's capital with a club in my car, and I don't mean the kind that keeps people from stealing it. I mean an actual, honest-to-goodness lead pipe filled with lead shot and wrapped with a special grip so that I could crack somebody's skull because they were threatening to attack the cars of people who commuted. And I drove through the American University campus every day. So we haven't gone quite that far yet, and we came out of that. Yeah. So that's the only comparison I can make in my lifetime in terms of the divide in the country. But we're getting close to the 60s.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. With regard to the next couple of months, where we're going to be 6 months down the line, it doesn't sound like you are too terrified. Some people are. What do you think this is going to... Go ahead. When is this? When do you feel? And this, we speculate. We're not medical experts. We're not, we're not politicians. But where do you see us 6 months from now?
Well, of course, it all began in China and Italy, and China says, okay, take it for what it's worth. The Chinese government says that the number of new cases has dropped way down. Italy, which I would be much more inclined to believe, seems to indicate a similar decline. So there does seem to be light at the end of the tunnel. We're not quite there yet, but it would seem at all possible, given what we are doing now, maybe in some cases belatedly, but I would have to think that in April or May, that we would turn the corner.
Yeah.
That's the way it looks to me.
For sure.
I want to make one point really clear here, and I'm sure you have already, but again, these people are saying, oh, Donald Trump says it's over by Easter. It doesn't care what the experts say. That's not what he said. That's not what he said. He says he hopes that we can get away from lockdown by Easter. We'll talk with the experts, and we'll see if we can. But the people who said that he is blindly moving forward in that direction just didn't pay attention to what he said.
I completely agree. Listen, James, I appreciate your time today. Don't drink any fish tank cleaner In the meantime.
Yeah. Oh my.
All right. Hey, thanks for joining me. For those who want to follow you, tell everybody where you are, where they can hear you, where they can see you, and all that stuff.
Absolutely. Yes, indeed. Go to the website JimBohannonShow.com. That's BOHANNON, JimBohannonShow.com. You can follow me on Twitter, despite the restraining order, at Jimbo Talks,
Yeah.
And I'm on weeknights, 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. to midnight Central Time. And the call-in number is 1-866-50-JIMBO. So join in.
All right, James. Have a glorious evening. Nice to talk to you, my friend.
Good to talk to you too, Rob.
All right, take care, buddy. All right, so Jim Bohannon, the Westwood One Radio Networks all over the country, and great to have him joining me on the show. Just a really, really, really cool dude. All right, so let's move on to some other stuff. I obviously am broadcasting on a different website tonight. I have some microphone erectile dysfunction here tonight for some odd reason, but anyway, we'll get that figured out. Much I want to get to, and if you would please share with others, that would be awesome. That would be absolutely awesome. Today, the Congress.
So, Madam President, help is on the way.
Again here, hold
the
on.
American people are already rising to this grave.
The Congress, I should say. Let me try that again. The Congress took under its belt a spending bill that is supposedly going to help the country. Now, I want you to realize something as you watch me here real quick. The money that you get is yours. The money that you get is yours. The $1,200 you get is yours. The bailout is yours. Don't act like this country is being benevolent. Don't act like this country is doling out something to you. Don't act like this is some sort of Christmas to you and others. This is your effing money. This is your child's future. And it is being spent before you. If you love your children, realize that this is their future, and they are going to be paying your debts. I think this entire spending bill is nonsense. The only reason why it exists is because the federal government and local and state governments had said that we need to shut your business down. This would not be necessary. This would not be necessary in one bit if the government didn't say we have to shut you down. And I don't think any of this was necessary. Here is a little compilation of Congress arguing and potentially passing a massive spending bill that your children will end up paying for. Here we are.
Challenge, and the Senate is about to follow suit. We're going to pass this legislation later today.
After 5 days of arduous negotiations, after sleep-deprived nights and marathon negotiating sessions, we have a bipartisan agreement on the largest rescue package in American history. Democrats have had two primary goals: a Marshall Plan for public health workers and hospitals on the front lines, and putting...
A Marshall Plan? Are you out of your mind? What was the Marshall Plan for? It was after World War II. This is not World War effing II, okay? Europe has not been bombed to smithereens. This has not upset the world economy like World War II. Are you out of your nut?
Workers first. The agreement, now, after these 5 days, reflects those Democratic priorities. Like all compromises, this bill is far from perfect.
You mean like...
but we believe the legislation...
You mean like $35 million for the Kennedy Center? You mean like hundreds of millions of dollars for the Corporation for Public Broadcasting? I mean, are you out of your nut?
...has been improved significantly to warrant its quick consideration and passage. So many people are being put out of work.
$500 billion subsidized loans for big businesses, sure. $150 billion of stimulus for states and local governments. Get it. Helping out people who are out of work, and that's the most important thing, helping out people who are out of work. But there is so much pork in this, guys. There is so much pork. The Democrat Party never fails to disappoint.
Through no fault of their own, they don't know what their future is going to be like. How are they going to pay the bills? Well, we come to their rescue. And the most significant part of that is
You don't come to their rescue. You are the reason why they need to be rescued. That's the thing. You are the reason why people need to be rescued. You are the one who is driving this. This whole thing is insane. You are the one who's saying that people need to stay at home. You are the one that is saying that we are all going to die. You are the one who is saying that small business needs to shut down. Those who are deemed unnecessary, like restaurants, with regard to people sitting inside, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Don't act like the government is writing in and rescuing us. You're not. All you're doing is you are creating edicts that we have to live by, and then you are allowing to have a little bit of our money back. Are you out of your nut?
Is something we are proud to have devised. We call it unemployment compensation on steroids. Every American worker who is laid off will have their salary.
They haven't been laid off. They've been told by the government they can't open.
Remunerated by the federal government so they can pay their bills. And because so many of them will be furloughed rather than fired, if they have benefits, they continue. And, extremely important, they stay with the company or small business. And that means that company or small business can reassemble once this awful plague is over. And our
It's not a plague. Dear God, it's not a plague. Donald Trump's approval rating has soared 12 points. Best approval of his presidency. How is that possible? He's ruining everything. He's killing everybody. Okay. Approval by party. Republicans, 92% approved. Independents, 43. Democrats, 13. 60% of Americans approve of his handling of the coronavirus. 38% do not. $2 trillion. $1,200 for everyone earning under $95,000. 4 months of unemployment. Cash to keep airlines flying. And a whole lot of pork. And a whole lot of pork. We live in strange times. Joe Biden did some interviews yesterday, Tuesday. Now, you've got a president of the United States who's getting very positive reviews. Here is actually, I want to share some audio. I believe I have it here. Hold on, I got some audio. From the, if I can find it, hold on. No, it's not. Hold on. No, I guess I don't have it right now. The president of the WHO, the World Health Organization, saying that Donald Trump's doing a great job. I don't have it in front of me. I will get it, but anyway. Joe Biden, in contrast to Donald Trump, who's doing a great job, who realizes that he's a business owner, and in government you can fail and fail and fail ad nauseum. You can fail and fail and fail. You can always fail in government, and somebody will bail you out. That's just the way it works. In private industry, it doesn't happen that way. Now, Donald Trump, you're going to say, well, Donald Trump filed for bankruptcy. Well, you know what Donald Trump did? He was a tool of the federal government he could use to reorganize his companies. A lot of people use it. That said, he's been a fairly steady-handed president throughout this. He's been ahead of the curve. January 31st, he said no more flights from China. That may have really helped things tremendously. Meanwhile, you've got Joe Biden, who's been doing appearances on TV, who's no longer doing many public appearances, and he's a mess. He's a mess. It's a little compilation here of, and I believe this is from Daily Caller, of Joe Biden the last couple of days. Do you want this man to be your president?
Have you been tested for the coronavirus?
No, I have not been tested for the coronavirus. I've had, thank God, no symptoms that I'm aware of. Doesn't mean that can't happen.
Up for the next round of primaries, including...
I've not talked to any individual. Excuse me.
And there he is coughing.
You know, you're supposed to cough into your elbow. I don't know, sir. I learned that actually covering your White House.
That's very funny. I don't remember what my elbow is. Is that my knee?
Actually, that's true, but fortunately I'm alone in my home, but that's okay.
Vice President Biden, thank you so much for your time. Please stay healthy.
For keeping businesses shut.
We have to take care of the cure. That will make the problem worse no matter what.
Okay, that's the question I asked yesterday. Dear God in heaven, what's going on?
The cure. That will make the problem worse no matter what.
And what is it like to be a candidate in the time of social distancing?
Well, I'm doing fine, thank you. And I think we've been
Public, but first in this crisis,
I'd like
spoke earlier. He's talking.
And I tell you what, I'm so darn proud. And those poor people who have lost, anyway, it's just, the heart goes out to them.
No. Listen, we have to make a choice about who leads this country.
I just can't figure the guy. It's like watching a yo-yo. I shouldn't have said it that way. It's like watching.
It feels that way. I want to ask.
Why? What's wrong with a yo-yo? I do that with dieting. I'm so uncomfortable right now. I just don't even know what to say. I'm a reporter, and I'm like, God in heaven, what's going on?
It's okay. About the reporting in the New York Lloyd to Home Alone with children.
Why doesn't he just act like a president?
Why don't you?
That's a stupid way to say it.
Donald Trump was asked on.
Wow.
Sorry.
It's like a conversation with, there are occasions when my mom, we have that, and we're like uncomfortable. It's like, so, Mom? Yeah.
Go ahead.
I love my mom. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, no, probably best I don't.
I really don't know what I'm talking about, but thank you, Grabian News, for giving me that. Wow. So I'd like to move on to a comment made by the president and something that I've been thinking about the last 24 hours, which is the solution worse than the problem? Today I went out and I did a video and I drove around, and it got a good reaction from people because we are at a moment that we are being told, some people are saying we should shut down everything. And let me turn my camera just slightly. There you go. We should shut down everything. The federal government should shut down everything. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to allow that to happen. I'm not going to stay at home. It is ridiculous. And we have to realize that we can let those who would tell us to stay at home, those who would say shutter your business, those who would say shut down everything. I do not agree with that. And I do not want to give the federal government that kind of power, because once you do, it will never come back. Now, yesterday, Tucker Carlson talked to the lieutenant governor of the state of Texas. And Dan Patrick is a 70-year-old man. Here's what he had to say about this. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. And then I'm going to share somebody who is my generation, a nationally syndicated talk show host, who has the same feeling about this that I do, and that is we cannot stop living. We cannot give up our freedoms. Here is 70-year-old Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick.
Yeah, I turned 70 next week, Tucker, and I sent you a note about a week ago that something has been really heavy on my heart since this started. And, so I'm automatically in the high-risk pool. And I'm, as Lieutenant Governor, I work 12 or 15 hours a day, mostly from home now, but I travel when I need to. I'm living smart, listening to the President and the CDC guidelines, like all people should, but I'm not living in fear of COVID-19. What I'm living in fear of is what's happening to this country. And, Tucker, no one reached out to me and said, as a senior citizen, are you willing to take a chance on your survival in exchange for keeping the America that all America loves for your children and grandchildren?
That would be the question of the day.
And if that's the exchange, I'm all in. And that doesn't make me noble or brave or anything like that. I just think there are lots of grandparents out there in this country, like me, I have 6 grandchildren, that what we all care about and what we love more than anything are those children. And I want to, live smart and see through this, but I don't want the whole country to be sacrificed. And that's what I see. I've talked to hundreds of people, Tucker, just in the last week, and making calls all the time, and everyone says pretty much the same thing. that we can't lose our whole country. We're having an economic collapse. I'm also a small businessman. I understand it. And I talk with business people all the time, Tucker. And my heart is lifted tonight by what I heard the president say, because we can do more than, one thing at a time. We can.
Okay. Now, here's what the president said yesterday. And he is saying things like, I believe that by Easter, we'll be okay. People are freaking out about this. People are thinking, how dare you give people hope? I mean, literally, there are people on the political spectrum on the left who do not want to give people hope. I'm not saying that we need to be careless. We need to go out and do crazy things, go out and lick a lamppost or whatever. But at the same time, if we can't be hopeful, then when hope is lost, nothing good happens. Here's what the president said about this virus and about the approaching Easter holiday.
Our country is not supposed to be, it's not built to shut down. Our people are full of vim and vigor and energy. They don't want to be locked into a house or an apartment or some space. It's not for our country. We're not built that way. And I said, I don't want the cure to be worse than the problem itself.
And the thing is, he's not being foolhardy here. He's not being nuts about this. If you look at the international statistics with how many people have been infected, how many people have recovered, how many people have died, this is not foolhardy. This is not throwing caution to the wind. It's actually common sense.
The problem being obviously the problem. And we've had flus before. We've had viruses before. So this is something new. And this is why I say we have to, I gave it 2 weeks, and I guess by Monday or Tuesday it's about 2 weeks, and we'll assess at that time, and we'll give it some more time if we need a little more time. But we have to open this country up. When they understand things very quickly. I mean, I understood exactly what they were saying. But we can socially distance ourselves and go to work. You can clean your hands 5 times more than you used to. You don't have to shake hands anymore with people. That might be something good coming out of this. So I would love to have the country opened up and just raring to go by Easter.
Oh my God in heaven. He is a panic monger, or not a panic monger. He is going to kill millions of people. Now, I will go ahead and tell you again. Did 1 million people die in China? No. Did 1 million people die in Italy? No. Didn't happen. One of my colleagues, I don't know Glenn Beck, but Glenn Beck says basically the same thing that I've been saying for about 2 weeks now. And all this takes is a modicum of common sense. When you look at the figures, you can either freak out about this and let fear. Okay, before I want to just comment about this. We've got people making runs for guns. We've got people making runs for toilet paper, any type of non-perishable food, all of the items that we need in our lives. Terrified that zombies are going to come and get us, I guess. I'm not sure. And in history of the country, we've never seen anything like this. I ask you this. What about this merits it for you and your family? What about this merits it for you and your family? If it were really this bad, why did I see so many people walking their dogs today? If it were really this bad, why are there people sitting on their porches today? I think it's falderall. I think it's nonsense. And I continue to believe this. And ultimately, I will be proven right. And ultimately, I want people like the governor of Kansas to be held accountable for her absolute irresponsibility and panic. We look for leadership in times like these. We do not look for someone who will curl up in a ball and shut down everything, take away our individual freedom, our rights, because of a virus that pales by comparison to some of the giant pandemics in history. I may be proven wrong. There are many probably who are going, I hope he's wrong. I hope he's wrong, and that way millions of people will die, but I hope he's wrong. I'm not going to be wrong. Hello, my niece Amy and Glenn and Ryan and all you guys and Marty. Thank you for joining me tonight. I'm trying a new channel tonight because all of my friends on Rob Carson at Facebook, they were very offended because that's a non-political Facebook page. So now I'm doing Rob Carson's show, which is where you expect what you get, which is politics, my thoughts about things, and if you can't handle it, piss off. Okay? Mario Cuomo, governor of New York, if this is shameful, he shouldn't do this because Donald Trump is president, but he's actually saying that things are starting to turn around in the state of New York. Shame on him.
This is very interesting because the evidence suggests that the density control measures may be working. And again, we're doing this.
Sorry, Andrew is the governor. Mario is the idiot on CNN.
From projections. But look at this because it's interesting. This past Sunday, the projection was that hospitalizations were doubling every 2 days, okay? On Monday, the numbers suggested that the hospitalizations were doubling every 3.4 days. On Tuesday, the projection suggested that the hospitalizations were doubling every 4.7
What?
days.
It slowed down.
Now, that is almost too good to be true. But the theory is, given the density that we're dealing with, it spreads very quickly, but if you reduce the density, you can reduce the spread very quickly. So, these projections, I've watched them bounce all over the place, and I don't place a great deal of stock in any one projection. All due respect to all the great academics and statisticians who are doing it. But this is a very good sign and a positive sign.
Oh, my God, optimism. We cannot have optimism. Things are turning around in Italy. Things have turned around in Germany. Things have turned around in China. The Great Wall has opened again. Again, we can't trust China. But it looks like things are good. Things are moving that direction. Gun sellers around the U.S., their sales are exploding. I don't need to worry about them because I have several boomsticks in my house. Thank you. Buyers are purchasing guns and ammunition in the event they have to defend themselves from people who become desperate and unpredictable over the deadly virus, say retailers. Also zombies. Let's not forget zombies. This is Dong's Guns. David Stone is the owner of Dong's Guns. Ammo and reloading. In Tulsa, Oklahoma. Describes the gun buying frenzy. A lot of people are buying shotguns, handguns, AR-15s, everything. Looks like they're, panic buying to some degree, right? Looks like, according to data from the FBI, over 5.5 million background checks were conducted in January and February. Combined gun sales generally rise in an election year as they did in 2016, but this January and February have outpaced 2016 by 350,000. Here is a Vegas gun store, ladies and gentlemen, to show you how bad things have gotten.
Empty. It's empty. It's all empty. Look at this. You guys want to know how bad this is? Let me show you how bad this is. Empty. No guns. Empty. No guns. Let me show you what rifles I have.
I'm thinking maybe liberals thought that they maybe could wipe their butt with a gun. That's why they're selling out so much.
I have left.
I could be wrong. Wow.
That's it. Those. That's the only rifles we have left. You want to look at the handguns? Let's see what handguns we have. Oh, none. And none.
Wow.
None. You guys want to see what ammo I have? Let's look at this.
Please, let's look at it.
Almost none.
Oh, man.
No ammo. No more guns. There's the 9mm case. Oh, there's the other 9mm case. Oh, look, here's the 380 and the 22 case.
Oh, that'll be full.
Oh, wait. Sorry, we do have some handguns.
They're over here. Okay. Thank God.
2 revolvers.
Whoa,
there.
a revolver.
And some little 22 cowboy revolvers there.
Revolvers.
We're out. Don't come in here tomorrow. We're out of here. Yeah. Joey is pretty animated. Okay, sorry, I got like 4 22 rifles.
22s, okay.
So, look.
Let's go ahead and hunt those zombie squirrels with those 22s. Unreal. India, the country of India, has 400 cases. No, 500 cases in 1.5 No, 1.3 billion people. 1.3 billion people in India. 1.3 billion people in India. 500 cases of coronavirus. They've closed the entire country down. And here is how they deal with it. If you're out in public and if you've been told you're not supposed to be at home, the police make you perform like a circus tiger. I'm going to spank you with a stick. There you go, which some people kind of enjoy, but that's what they do. They humiliate you real bad. And they make you roll. Don't. I'm gonna. Oh, you smacked me in the butt. I'm rolling here. There are people in Los Angeles who pay for that. It's like, ooh, I'm gonna roll. I didn't roll fast enough. I better be spanked. This is how they do it. Now, this is according to Dr. S.P. Kalantri, superintendent of the large hospital in central India. He told Vox, which is a left-leaning rag, if the current disease trajectory is doing anything to go by, we expect 1 million or 2 million deaths in India over a 1-year period. Okay. Time to go back to making people roll around and beating them with sticks. Okay, get up now. Go home. There you go. All right, that's life in India. There's some people being just held down because they had the audacity of going out and breathing, things like that. I went out today, and if you look at my Facebook page, I did a little video, just drove around town, and I noticed people out and about, and I commented about how they were already dead because how dare you get out and actually walk. This is all falderall. All nonsense. Nonsense. I want to do a couple more stories here because we are a little long here. This is pretty interesting because leave it to social media or social media influencers to do really stupid crap to get attention. I had some kids the other day. They went into a grocery store. They were coughing. And maybe, I think I did some stupid crap when I was in high school, but I never did anything this stupid where you're in the middle of a supposed pandemic and you decide to go in and videotape yourself sneezing on products and crap, and it's stupid. But it did happen, and this social media influencer decides to take part in this challenge, I guess, on TikTok. TikTok is the mint. Known as Lars, 21 from Beverly Hills, went in to do this challenge they're doing, which is licking a toilet seat. Okay. Okay. Even if it were any other time ever, would you ever lick a toilet seat? What the hell is wrong with you? What is fundamentally broken with you? What is going on with you? What happened when you were a child that you would go in and lick a toilet seat? What sort of twisted fantasy is that? What sort of just, what sort of disgusting disorder do you have that you would lick a toilet? What the hell is your problem? Well, this dipwad goes in, licks a toilet seat, and it turns out that he is tested positive for coronavirus. And to that I say, go Corona. Look at this moron. Now, you're also going to see another one here. 21-year-old Ava Louise licking a toilet seat on an airplane during the coronavirus challenge. These are the same people who did the cinnamon inhalation challenge and other stupid crap. Watch this moron. I'm going to back it up again. He's walking in. He's going to lick a toilet seat. Not sure if this is already pre-cleaned or if he just decided to be a complete and utter moron, but ultimately he has coronavirus. You are an idiot.
Coronavirus challenge.
Why don't you just drink out of the toilet too? please drink out of the toilet as well. Let's hear it again.
Coronavirus challenge.
You are an idiot. Dear Lord in heaven. Apparently the Ava Louise video clip is not on there. Thus far, about 60,000 people in America have gotten the coronavirus and about 800 deaths. So this guy, there's no limits to the amount of stupid that you see on the internet. Okay, let's do, I'm going to move on. I'm going to move forward a little bit. And maybe before we go, play a couple of fun things. Would that be nice? Let's play a couple of fun things here because I think we need it. I need it. I have a wife and kids at home, and it's not terribly easy to be around them all the time. This is a pretty cool video. If I can find it. Hold on one second. Oh, you're going to love this. So the other day, we heard celebrities singing Imagine by John Lennon, and it was terrible. It was all the major celebrities you can imagine, Gal Gadot and Will Ferrell, and it was terrible. They looked awful, and they sounded terrible. And Dr. Elvis Francois, 34 years old, an orthopedic surgeon at Mayo Clinic, Rochester, New York, sang alongside his colleague, Dr. William Robinson, 36. These are people who are going in every day and facing an unknown, and I realize we've been talking about the coronavirus, and I do think it's very serious, and I wouldn't want to get it. I don't want to get it. And certainly those who are in the healthcare industry are scared of it, and I don't blame them. But this Minnesota surgeon, his version of this is stunning. I want to play it with you. Play it for you, I should say. Because it is, it's beautiful. And I thank him for what he does for a living, and I thank him for this. Listen up.
Imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try. No hell below us. Bubbles only skies. Imagine all the people living for today. Ooh, you might say that I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday that you will join us.
Wow. Unbelievable. And I want to thank the UK Daily Mail for sharing that. That was seamless. That was beautiful. Absolutely, absolutely beautiful. John Mayer decided to make fun of the celebrities the other day singing Imagine to a much lesser degree. Here is what John Mayer did with that.
Hey everyone, John here with a Current Mood Mini. So this week, Gal Gadot and a bevy of other celebrities released a rendition of John Lennon's Imagine that went far and wide across the internet. I have to come clean about something. They actually asked me to be a part of this, and I totally misunderstood the assignment and thought they wanted me to sing Imagine by Ariana Grande from her 2019 smash hit album, Sweetener. They were nice enough to send over a cut. Take a look.
Imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try.
No hell below us. Me with no makeup, you in the bathtub, bubbles and bubbly. Ooh. Imagine all the people
Living for today.
The insufferable.
Yeah.
Imagine a world like that. Imagine a world like that.
It isn't hard to do.
Nothing to kill or die for, and no religion.
You're terrible. Dear God.
Click, 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 and post. Drip, 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 and gold.
Yeah, it's kind of like that Sesame Street thing. Kind of like one of these things is not like the other. Yeah. Want to wrap things up tonight, and I want to thank Jim Bohannon for being my guest tonight, and I hope you've enjoyed the show as well. I will be podcasting again tomorrow because I'm not working. But I want to share something. This is in Atlanta. Residents of the Midtown neighborhood of Atlanta, the Midtown neighborhood of Atlanta, have begun to step out on their balconies each evening at 8 o'clock to cheer for the local healthcare workers. It's likely doctors and nurses at nearby Midtown Emory University Hospital can hear them. Their ICU beds are already at full capacity. Let's listen to this video. I think it's pretty cool. Before I wrap things up, people sending a powerful message to people who are working very hard to get through this. Come on. Very cool. Very cool. And with that, I say adieu for tonight. Thank you for joining me, guys. I do greatly appreciate it. Again, I'm not going to let this pandemic keep me at home. I'm not going to let this shut down my country. I'm not going to let this end our way of life. I'm not going to support a federal government taking over the country. It's not going to happen. The solution is worse than the cure, or the cure is worse than the, let me try that again. I'm being a Joe Biden here. But the cure that we've prescribed is worse than the pandemic. That's what I'm trying to say. And if it means staying at home and watching all of my brothers and sisters who have businesses or work at businesses and see them go out of business and starve and lose their businesses, then by God in heaven, I am not going to take a part in that solution. It's not going to happen. So, support your local businesses. I will be back tomorrow again on this channel, provided Facebook has not already shadow banned me, which they are known to do. Have a glorious evening. God bless you. And I'll see you soon.